Okay, I do believe we are here with WVU football going deep. I'm Forrest Poston. I checked my driver's license and it says so. Um, Now, those those who come here regularly, no, I don't tend to do a whole lot with numbers. That is usually Couz's territory. But today I'm going to invade his territory and play around with some numbers. And for that reason, today's video is dedicated to Couz. So sit back while I pour out a shot of generic Dr. Pepper, because that's how I roll. Yeah, it's getting flat, just the way I like it. Now, today's video is going to be about the wide receiver room. A lot of fans and West Virginia media have kind of been liking the 2024 team. But you have those who are reticent and those who are just the negatives. They're showing up on the discussion boards, not surprising, and they'll grudgingly admit that parts of the team are good, but they're really worried about the wide receivers. Now, they were worried about the wide receivers last year. And, well, yeah, Bram and Aaron didn't pan out. In the long run, that turned out to be a pretty good thing for us. But they point to the statistics. And we didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. Well, now that's saying that numbers don't lie is what you call bullshit. Because numbers are a language, and it all comes down to the person who is presenting them. And you can play with numbers as much as you can play with words, because guess what? 7 is a number, but it's also a word. So don't be fooled by that little illusion. But we're going to play around with the numbers and see if they maybe show something that's a little more on the zoom side, not so much the doom and gloom. Hey, forgive me for interrupting myself, but I do need to ask you guys to please subscribe, click the notification bell, click the thumbs up, make comments, click share. Really helps get the channel out there to people. And I would be down on my knees for you, except then you couldn't see me in the camera. You could see the mess behind. Back to the video. Now, okay, the passing game for West Virginia in the first 4 games wasn't what you call impressive. And yeah, when I talk about number of games, I am not counting Duquesne at all. That was lower level, significantly lower level competition. So it's an outlier. It skews the numbers falsely. So anytime I say first 4 games, that's the first 4, not counting Duquesne. All right. First 4 games, we averaged 20 passes per game. And you may say, 20? It was that many? Because it didn't really seem like it. Especially because Mark Hill had to fill in a couple of times, and he was not really ready to run the full offense. Check out the last 8 games, and I include the bowl game. Anytime there, when I'm listing the last 8 games, that includes UNC. Okay, we got a major increase, about 27.5 passes per game. Now, of course, that was up and down a bit. game to game, but we started to turn things on as the team was ready. Result of that, those first 4 games, we averaged 115 and 3/4 yards per game. And that was with 160 something yards against Penn State. We had one, when Markiol was in, it was a lot lower. So, anemic, yeah, but it was a grind and grit ground game. And we won. You look overall at the receivers for the season. Carter was the leading receiver. He didn't play in a couple of games. He had a few issues along the way. Still did what he was brought in to do. Led the team. Hudson Clement, redshirt freshman. That Duquesne star in the game I'm not mentioning, including 480. Taylor, who won't be included in the rest of this because he's tight end, but was the number 3 receiver, followed by Fox and Traylon Ray. For the season, as season stats go, those are not what you're going to call impressive. So we take a closer look. Now I'm going to look at particularly Hudson Clement, Preston Fox, Traylon Ray. Not including Gallagher because he wasn't a major factor. He was learning the position. And people are going, oh my gosh, Gallagher's a bust. No, Gallagher is learning what is essentially a brand new and very complicated position. So last year was just a chance for him to get a taste of the game. And so the practice for this year will have a lot more meaning. But let's take a look at Hudson Clement, not counting the Duquesne game. First 4 games, 3 games really, because he did not play against Penn State. So 5 receptions, 62 yards. So that's an average of less than 2 receptions a game and roughly 20 yards a game. Last 8, in which he played 6, because he didn't play against UCF or BYU. 12 receptions, 241 yards. So he played in twice as many games and slightly more than doubled his catches. So he's still not catching a lot per game, but he quadrupled yards per game. Quadrupled yards per game in the last little more than half of the season. That doesn't mean he would have had a 1,000-yard season if he did that the whole year, but it means things were happening. Preston Fox, first 4 games, 5 receptions, 66 yards. And a couple of very non-Fox drops along the way. Last 8, in which he played 7, he was not in the UNC game and got injured before, didn't play the full game against Baylor. 19 receptions. So we're looking at a little more than, he doubled receptions per game, a little bit more than doubled. 266 yards. So, 50% roughly increase in yards per game. We move on to Traylon Ray, and in some ways, biggest change, but really towards the end of the season. Those first 4 games, 3 receptions, 7 yards. Now, true freshman, really wasn't expected to play the beginning of the season. Came in, more due to injury and some, well, of course, Bram, doesn't play, leaves, Ray steps in. Last 8 games, 15 receptions. So he went from less than 1 per game to almost 2 per game, 314 yards. So he went from like 2 yards per game to about 33, 34 yards per game. Again, not huge numbers, but a huge increase in numbers. The progression is significant. And with Ray, his very best game was the bowl game. He was getting better and better as the season went on, which is, of course, what you want to have happen. Considerations. All of the primary receivers on the team added like 10 pounds or more of muscle, of strength. And Gallagher and Ray especially needed it, because we know Gallagher is, he's willing to put his nose in and hit somebody, but if he hits with everything he's got, he still doesn't have a lot of mass to hit with. And Ray, taller, but in terms of comparative muscle strength and size with the corners he's going up against, he did not have the advantage last year. Knocking him off his route took a strong wind, much less a good hit from a decent corner. You add 10 pounds of muscle, you add a year of experience, and in Ray's case particularly, a full camp. He not only came in after spring camp, he didn't come in until essentially fall camp. He missed the summer because he was playing baseball. So all of this happened with what these days is minimal preparation. So the expectation for Ray this season is legitimately very high, based on progression. You're not looking at total numbers, you're looking at patterns of numbers. And that's, of course, you give somebody a page with a bunch of dots and ask them to connect the dots to draw a picture, and with enough dots, you can draw whatever you want. Same with numbers. I could go back and look at these numbers in a different way if I really wanted to, and probably force some different conclusions. I think this is a legit good way to look at the numbers in order to figure what is likely to happen this season. In addition, Rodney Gallagher now has a clue what it means to play receiver at Power 4 level. And that is a tricky thing because you don't, it's not like sandlot football where you just tell somebody to go deep. You don't necessarily have a route. Based on what the defense does, you may run one of several routes. And you have to know what the other receivers are supposed to do, because your route and their routes interact. You're supposed to be moving the defense in certain ways so you don't end up just taking everybody to one spot so that everybody is covered because you're all standing in a group wondering what happened. Gallagher is smart. He is athletic. He is going to know what he's doing when the season starts. And I don't think they really tried to show him off in spring. I don't think they want anybody to see him at his best. And spring, his best, is not going to be as good as it will be in the fall. Meanwhile, we also added Jaden Bray to the room. And I mean, Bray you effectively look at as the replacement for Carter. Okay, Bray, a mediocre season, replaces Carter. Now, of course, Carter, well, he was a good influence on the room. Bray is a good influence on the room. We had Carter for 1 year, we get Bray for 2 years. So, as things stand now, we should consider Bray an upgrade. So, everything about the wide receiver room should be better this year than last year. And I mean, it is not just reasonable, it's a very good bet to expect it to be better. And we have young receivers coming in. Farmer is the one with the most, let's say the highest rating, the most expectations. He's the one who's expected to play. He's the one who is considered a potential game changer. I don't think he'll play a lot early. He's a freshman. But we also have Dom Collins. We have Raymond. We have Robinson. And I'm forgetting at least one other scholarship player, I think. Then we also have a couple coming in as walk-ons, including Murphy Clement. Don't expect these guys to have a big effect on the receiver room this season. We have T.J. Johnson, who moved over from the tight end room, gives us a taller target. Not necessarily, we're not talking 4.3 speed, but a good, tall, long target for speed. I don't know why people just seem to insist on ignoring the fact that Hudson Clement is effectively as fast as E.J. Horton. Clement runs better routes. As a redshirt freshman, he ran better routes. He has an additional year of the strength and nutrition programs. He's, a good, hard worker. He learns. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. It really appears that Horton did not share all of those qualities to the extent he needed to. But Clement has the speed. We don't get 40 times or GPS, readings for the players on any regular basis. Wish we did. But Traylon Ray is not a, plug horse drawing a plow. He moves. Rodney Gallagher has giddy up. Preston Fox does not wear galoshes when he plays. Fox gets downfield. Ray was the deep threat last year. We have guys who can get behind the defensive backs. They can get behind the backs with speed. More importantly, they can get behind them with technique. Technique beats speed. Technique plus speed, that's the end zone. That beats teams. And I think this year we are going to have technique plus speed plus strength. Because, how good your technique is doesn't matter if the corner can knock you out of bounds, too far off your route. So last year, every receiver got better as the year went on. The quarterbacks got better as the year went on. They have all worked hard over the offseason to fix what their shortcomings were. We saw Green throw with touch. And it's going to be good. The passing game overall is going to be good. The wide receiver room is going to zoom. Screw the doom, screw the gloom. They're gonna zoom. Okay, I'm really starting to preach. Not quite shouting hallelujah, but give me a few minutes and I might. Suppose one of my aunts would be pleased that I'm at least showing some preaching tendencies if I'm not professionally the preacher she thought I was going to be. Oh well. Anyway, that's my opinion of the wide receiver room, if you hadn't guessed. I think the numbers support me. We will see if the numbers support me a year from now. Meanwhile, please do all those kind of things like subscribe and click share, click the notification bell, make comments, tell your friends, especially your young friends. Turns out that my audience, 75% of my viewers are 65 years or older. I'm not going to try rapping in order to reach a younger audience. Aside from not being that desperate or that good, I don't think it would work. So I will see you all later. Thanks for dropping in. Oh man, I'm looking forward to this season. So long.